I play with silicone putty from time to time. It molds well and it sets up quick.
And as long as it's used for simple projects like this funnel and sprue that have smooth surfaces and not too much detail, it works really well. So I dug this sculpture out of the archives. It was a rough sketch in oil clay and was also one of my earliest successful silicone molds. The surface is rough and it has a lot of detail, and I want to see if I can make a good press-on mold with it. The first thing to do is to wax up a small board with beeswax and put a couple of holes in it for screws to fix the sculpture in place. I guesstimated the amount of rubber to mix up, then I realized the board was in the way and it was hard to reach the undersurfaces. And so I separated the two and started pressing the mold on there. I worked my way around the sculpture carefully, pressing the rubber in as best I could into all the cracks and pushing the air out in front of the rubber that I was applying. It seemed to be going well and I didn't feel like I was trapping very many bubbles, but it's really pretty much impossible to tell while you're doing it. The rubber was definitely slumping, so I thought I better put supports on the side, and also it seemed awful thin to me, so I mixed up another batch half as big as the one before and got that one applied. I was done for the day, so I let the thing sit overnight and came back the next morning to take the sculpture out of the mold. And that was a lot harder than I anticipated. The mold was harder and much tougher than I expected, and I wound up tearing it in a couple of places trying to free the sculpture. But I did finally get it out, and then I discovered that I could close the mold back up. Even though it's not a proper cut mold at all, the walls are very thin, I could close it up by using fine rubber bands and strategically placed notches to hold them in place. My original plan was to build a cradle for the mold, but it was so stiff and hard, kind of like a turtle shell, that I discovered I really didn't need it. So I just propped it up in this container and held it in place with my beloved and endlessly useful 1-2-3 block. And then it was time to pour resin, and I found it was easy to level it out just by adjusting the position of the mold in the container. After 20 minutes in the pressure pot, I extracted the casting, and it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. The mold is tough and hard, and it interlocks with the casting features, and that made it difficult to get it apart, so I had to tear the mold a lot more to free the casting. Plus, bits of the mold got trapped in the deep crevices, and I had to pick them out with a sharp bamboo skewer. The casting has flaws. The parting line was decent and easy to clean up, but there were bubbles. Inward bubbles are air that's trapped inside the resin. Outward bubbles are where the resin fills up bubbles trapped in the mold. But either way, they're easy to clean up, and all in all, this was a usable casting. So what's the conclusion? Would I use this method again for a casting like this? No. I would not. It's not ideal and there's much better ways to do it. One thing I did learn was that silicone putty sticks nicely to the rubber I normally use, and that technique could come in handy on future projects.
But no, I'll stick to my usual methods and just use silicone putty for quick, easy jobs that I want to knock out fast. Hey, I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.